Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon for us in Moscow. Thank you all so very much for joining the webinar today. I hope you're all well and safe and healthy today. Today we're going to talk about the registration of medical equipment and medical devices in case you're interested to enter or expand to the Russian market. My name is Irina Podsushna. I'm a senior trade advisor at the DAT, Department for International Trade at the British Embassy Moscow, and I'm responsible for life sciences. I will be moderating this event. And let me start with introducing our speakers. So our today's speakers are Vadim Sviridov, a Deputy Director of Meditex company, the company that provides services in registration of medical devices and medical equipment. Maxim Blagov, a logistics director from the distributor company Rumix, and finally Olga Shor, a general manager for Russia and CIS of the UK company ConvaTec. So we'll start with presentations followed by a Q&A session. Please be active and type your questions in the chat box. And if you have a question to a particular speaker, please indicate so. So we have 2 hours and we hope to answer all your questions. And if not, then send your questions to us and we'll be glad to answer them offline. So this webinar is going to be recorded and video will be sent automatically to all those who registered. And if you have any technical issues, try to restart the web page and I think it's going to be back to normal. So let me start with my short presentation to give a view of the Department for International Trade. Department for International Trade is a part of the UK government. It's an international economic department responsible for bringing together policy promotion and financial expertise to help break down trade barriers in trade and investment and help UK businesses succeed. So basically our ultimate goal is to promote British trade and investment across the world or to promote British goods and services to the Russian market. And we do so by providing various tailored programs. So first we provide a country advice. We also provide a sector advice. We prepare local market research. We also help UK businesses to find potential and reliable business partners and distributors in Russia. We also participate at various trade shows. Well, we used to be for COVID time, and we organize and bring trade missions both to the UK and to Russia. And we also help to establish, links with authorities and government stakeholders and other stakeholders. So this is basically like a very, very, very short overview of the DAT and what we do. Here are the contact information of our speakers. And I think we need to give floor to our experts to talk in details about the medical registration and medical equipment. And I would like to pass floor to Vadim, who will be talking in details about all the peculiarities and all the details on registering medical devices and medical equipment in Russia. So, Vadim, the floor is yours.
All right, can you hear me? Irina, could you please confirm?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good, okay. Thank you for introduction. Again, my name is Vadim Sviridov. So we have about 200 slides, 25 minutes. Be ready for a lot of information. That's a joke, by the way. So let's start. First of all, let's have a look at the pie we have in Russia from the medical device perspective. For this year, we expect some drop down from, this is, by the way, in GBP, billions of GBP, not in rubles. So from 3.1 to about 2.9 billion GBP. But for next few years, about 3 to 5 years, Russian government will increase investment in empty market and they will try to improve the situation they have, and also they try to take into account the current situation regarding coronavirus. So I hope that pie will be very attractive for newcomers and also from the extension perspective. All right, what's the main segments of MDs, medical devices in Russia? The biggest one and the most important for the moment for this year, that's in vitro. Also, first three, you can look through the list, minimal invasive surgery, also imaging and reanimation. That's the top three segments to go in. So, how the market looks like from the purchasing perspective. Import against local manufacturing. You see that in blue, just 21% medical devices producers in Russia. The rest we're purchasing from outside. Later on, I will show you who's the main suppliers for Russia. At the same time, there is some initiatives from Russian government that improve, support local manufacturers, and also they are stimulating to get on board international companies and stimulate them to set up local productions in Russia. So here you can see the main supplier is Europe. Unfortunately, UK just 2% of the total European volume we have in Russia. Traditionally, we are Russians prefer German. Unfortunately, I hope it will change soon with the information we will provide you. Also, there is a heavy pressure from Asian manufacturers. Be ready for heavy competition at the Russian market. China is really strong, has a really strong position here. Also, Japan is improving their presence in Russia. So who's the main consumers for you? Most of the medical devices from the chart you can present here, you see that mostly come through state sector, state segment. Then we have a lower level departments that operates with the medical device purchase. It's about 20%, and only 24% of the total purchase, total consumption, belongs to end customers and real, how to call them, patients. So the procurement system in Russia quite complicated, I would say. So you saw that about 24% belongs to private sector. That's easy to get, but low level, and in your interest to stay in contact with the state part of the market. So, but you have to comply with the regulation, with the system, and you need the local support to go through. You have to know how to deal with the federal laws, number 44223, just for your notice. The decision may take about a year, maybe 5 years in some cases, so just keep it in mind. For sure, just for planning reasons, here's the picture represents seasonality of the business. Main deals you will get at the end of the year. You will close at the end of the year. It may vary from other countries, but in Russia it looks like this. And we see this picture last 5 or 6 years. So before go to Russia, you should grab some data about the market. And in some cases, it's really complicated. There is a database there in Russian, so you will need a local provider or international provider who may help you to get the data, accurate data about the real situation, real numbers, and you have to be very careful about this. Please be very careful with the how to say it, ready-to-use reports, because in some cases, these reports are really, how to say, raw, really raw. For more accurate data, you should find the provider and get the accurate data about your devices you will move to Russia. So here's the system. You may look through the slide and look through the notes, but this federal law supports local manufacturers and stimulates, as I mentioned before, they stimulates international companies to place their production in Russia and how to say, improve the local situation regarding medical devices. One of the most interesting for you, the document number 102. That will how to say, leverage you to think about local manufacturing here, because, for example, on a tender, if you'd like to play and get an order, you may have two competitors, pure Russian companies, and they will have 15% advantage against you. So if you will play with two Russian manufacturers, you have a really low options to get the order from the tender. So here, for your impression, how the system, how the medical device life cycle looks like, a lot of departments involved. Some of them you know, like Roszdravnadzor, Ministry of Health, different departments, controlling departments, also Ministry of Industry and Trade, heavily involved in the process. All each medical device under control over its life cycle. So again, unfortunately, we have only Russian documents that regulates the life cycle of medical device here in Russia. Many of them numbered, just for your number 3 to 3. You may try. I heard some customers told me that they use electronic automatic translator to look through the document, but it's really tough. Be very careful with this. You may have a big trouble, and it's better to call specialists like Irina for advice how to deal with the number of documents. So for the moment, this federal law is in place. There is also a number of documents active working for this year, and we hope they will keep working for next few years, but later I will tell you about changes that are coming. So the numbers are in red, and they describe the whole requirements for each medical device that you're gonna sell in Russia. So first of all, you have to register to go through the registration procedure. Here you can see the workflow. Like a roadmap, you should go with devices, risk class 2A, B, or 3. We have nearly the same definitions of risk class for medical devices. So here's, you see 2 stages of expertise. You have to prepare some documents pack, then go through the testing, and then submit these documents for review to Roszdravnadzor. We called it shortly RZN. Let's use this acronym. Then you will get the permission to go for clinical trials. That's a really, how to say, important stage, because for innovative products, really new products that are now have competitive ones at the market already registered, you have to go to a whole clinical trials with the human participation. In other cases, the procedure will be shortly and cheaper. That will be just only clinical evaluation. That normally takes 2, 4, up to 6 months. So here's the workflow, registration workflow for risk class 1 and in vitro. That's simpler. And for the moment, there are 2 documents in place, number 299 and 403. These documents extended for next year. It relates to medical devices that cover to countermeasure coronavirus situation here in Russia. The procedure is shorter, but also requires a number of steps you have to go. So on this slide, I think Irina will transfer these slides for you for your information. Please use it if needed. Here you see a number of days required for the procedure, for registration. On average, it takes about 10-12 months. In some cases, for example, for in vitro products, very high-tech products, it may take up to 1.5 or 2 years, because a lot of documents you have to prepare. You have to prepare based on local Russian standards. You can't use your international documents here. All trials, all testing must go in country. So first of all, you are starting from technical and operational documents. We call it technical file and application instruction. There is a standards in place that regulates requirements you have to follow. You may try to make by yourself, or better to hire specialists here in Russia. My recommendation to use local specialists and experts to prepare these documents. Simple translation of your technical files. You all have your documents in place. Just simple translation will not work, because there is we have a little bit different standard in Russia. So when you're done with the technical documents, you may go to and get permission to move samples to Russia. My colleague Maxim will tell you a little bit more in detail from the documents perspective. Toxicological tests you have to make here in Russia. In some cases, laboratories may ask you for your international reports from Europe or US or whatever, but it will be for reference only. The final report must go from the authorized laboratory. The list of authorized laboratories you may find at the official Roszdravnadzor website. You may easily find it in the internet. Unfortunately, the site of this federal bureau is really weak from the English language perspective. It will not provide you with the whole information, but you will get enough impression how the system and how the requirements looks like, and who's the authorized laboratories. That's a source for you. In this case, you may use automatic translation added to your browsers, so try to use it. Asian guys are using it heavily, by the way. So when you're done with the toxicological tests, you may go, or in some cases for some products, you may do it in parallel. You have to go through the technical tests. So there are also standards and requirements in place. You have to comply with them. Also, you can use only authorized laboratories, only. And you have to go it again in country. As I mentioned before, when you're done with the technical documents, technical file, operation, application instruction, when you get passed through the first stage of evaluation, you will get a permission to go to clinical trials. Here is 2 options: clinical trials with human and without human. standards, requirements, only local laboratories. Reports will be taken into account by RTN. So what's coming? What's new? Now we have a how to say national regulation. I mean Russian one that I described on my previous slides. But we expect that the RTN will apply a new Eurasian regulation to Russia, to medical devices. Here you see the number of countries on the Union, and with this new regulation coming in 2022, so you have a next year to use an existing national system, we called it national system, to register your products and start working. All certificates, all registration done within next year will be applicable, will be alive, and you may use them with no limitation, but only for Russia. To work with other countries, CIS countries, you will need to go through the local registration procedures. So, by the way, we think that the procedure will be postponed a little bit because right now there is an issue in Belarus, not so good situation in Armenia. So we don't know. Still no official position from RZN provided, but experts say that the application of new regulation, Eurasian regulation, may be postponed. But keep in mind, next year you may use national procedure. It works well. We know how to deal with it. Nearly all experts deal with it really easily, and you may shorten your time to market. From the timing perspective, we expect that new procedure will be longer. As I mentioned, 1.5 years may transfer to a couple or 3 years for registration. That will increase your time to market, and also it will require additional investments. So entry ticket will cost more. Our expectation, rough expectation, it will be 2 times higher. But that's our, how to say, estimation. So here you see the notes on the transition. Requirements are become more strict. So before QMS was not so heavily called by RCN, but right now it's a must. ISO 13485, it's a must. That might be an issue for Russian manufacturers and probably for Asian manufacturers. I think most of you have this ISO and you will have no issues, but please note that from next year it's a must. So who are at the some review, some more notes? Irina, do I have 5 more minutes? Yeah, okay, thanks much. So who is at the Russian market? We called it classical local manufacturers of medical devices, and also international companies with a representative office, also local manufacturing sites, or full operational offices here. What's more, how to say, important to know at the moment regarding coronavirus situation again, telemedicine became very important. Any automation from the in vitro perspective and also from treatment perspective, also important. Software, for your information, there are a number of new regulations in place regarding software that is really improving registration procedure. It makes it softer and easier, and everybody understands that new devices are really overloaded with the software. Also, it's really really new and very how to say very trendy artificial intelligence for medical application. Also, how to say, hot trend, I would say. So Russian market is still alive. It's still alive. We are quite positive on this. We see a number of local manufacturers setting up their sites. Also, some manufacturers extending their product lines. Also, based on the federal law number 102, as I mentioned on my previous slide, they start looking for manufacturing localization. They'd like to set up their own sites in Russia. And for sure, again, regarding the coronavirus situation, personal protective tools, very important, and also high demand for high-tech products. What's the issue? Main issues you may face here in Russia. First of all, public procurement system. As you saw on my previous slide, the scheme is quite complicated, and you have to know how the main laws works here in Russia. Also, to be at the same level as Russian manufacturers, you have to localize your production here and get a confirmation certificate called ST1 to be at the same position as the Russian manufacturer. Also, regarding regulation, the procedure is not simple. It looks, I try to present you as a simple procedure, but from the real system, it's quite complicated. You have to know real details, how to prepare documents, how to proceed with the trials, how to prepare reports, which dots and commas you have to check, names of companies. That's really small details, but they may drive you to a real issue if you will not exclude them. Also, please note that the number of testing labs are really going down, and Roszdravnadzor, Federal Bureau, they are trying to reduce the number of laboratories to keep control on them, because they'd like to avoid non-proper registration or testing, some mistakes in this. And the final one regarding localization, that might be an issue with the sites, with the utilities you need to set up a production, and also people, qualified specialists to work with your equipment, production equipment. Regarding localization and production, we may talk a little bit more if Irina allow me. I see some questions. Irina, how we do with the Q&A at the end of or right now? Quick questions. Irina?
Vadim, I think at the end.
At the end, okay. Just a simple question. I think it's good to know to everyone. There is a question: aside from 13485, do we need CE or FDA as a requirement? No. For Russian registration, you need just ISO 13485. So that's it. I think that's it from my end. Let's look through the question at the end. I'll be happy to help you. Thank you, Irina.
Okay, thank you, Vadim, very much. So now I would like to pass the floor to Maxim. So to remind you again, Maxim is a logistics director at the distributor company. Of the distributor company Rumix. So he will be talking about logistics details.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, thank you all for coming. I'm really pleased to be here. Before I start, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Maxim Blagov, and I'm logistic director of Rumix Medical Company. I have a degree with honor from the Russian Trade Foreign Academy, and also I have a certificate from the Russian Customs Service. Our company provides effective long-standing cooperation with some manufacturers like Killer, Johnson & Johnson, Philips, 3M, Oculus, Quantel, etc. So this is, sorry. Okay. So I divided my presentation in two parts. First of all, I would like to show the scheme of import medical samples and corresponding regulatory documents. In the second part, we will focus on the real case of import medical sample for the clinical research. So let's begin. Generally speaking, in order to import medical samples into Russian territory, you need a lot of documents that you have provided to our customs, to the Russian customs. Contract between importer and manufacturer, invoice in Russian and English versions, transportation documents, taxes and VAT payments confirmation, etc. But you can't import any samples for the tests and clinical research without Rosdraft import approval. There are a lot of rules to get this approval. Vadim mentioned it, but this process is not easy and it will take a long time. Vadim also mentioned it. If you would like to get this approval, you need to provide to the Rosdraft to make technical test contract, technical tests, clinical tests, and toxicological tests. And you should make a contract with the authorization laboratories in the Russian territory. After that, all these three contracts you should provide to the customs. This document is necessary to the import. So I would like to show you the example of the document. 1 second. This the example of the document that you should provide to the customs in order to import samples to the Russian territory. You can see this. Of course. So next slide. 1 second. Yes, Vadim.
Maxim, quick note on this very important document. We faced several times the issues when this permission prepared and the manufacturer created a batch of products for testing. Then this batch disappeared in sales channel. That's really big issue, because in this case you have to prepare again the same permission. You will lose time and money on the preparation. Please keep the batch for testing untouchable. Thank you, Maxim.
There's a lot of regulatory documents that you need to according to this, customs import the goods to the Russian territory. I would like to show you the example of the custom declaration. It is the simplest method to explain the process. Some columns are not important, so I skim them, and also I erase some information because it is confidential. This is a real case when our company imports samples for the clinical research. Column 1, column 1, 1 second, I'll try to get it bigger. 1 second. Column 1, this is procedure. In our case, we use simple import, but in any cases, other cases, you can use temporary import. Column 2, manufacturer. This manufacturer of the medical device. Column 11 and 16 also manufacturer. And very important column is 31. This is description of the device. And this description can be identical with Rosdraft import approval. Column 44, this is list of documents that you need to provide to the customs in order to get the import approval. So very bad quality. Second. For example, 01999. This is Rosdraft import approval number, and you should provide it to our customs, and our customs have to see this. The next document, this is AVB number, airway bill. Next documents, contract and specification. And other documents also should be provided. For example, this freight forwarder contract, payments confirmation, etc. Next one, also in order to import samples, you should provide the letter from the laboratory that they confirm that goods. Let's see. This is the letter from the Russian laboratory that they confirm that import confirmed from their side. So that's all that I would like to show. I'm finished.
Okay, thank you, Maxim, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for detailed details on how to import samples. So right now, I would like to give floor to our next presenter, Olga Shor. Olga is, as I mentioned, the director of Russia and CIS of the UK company ConvaTec. So she will share her experience on how to open an office in Russia and how to work in Russia with end users and government officials. Olga, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Irina, for giving me this opportunity to present some facts about the ConvaTec and our success in this market. A couple of words about myself and my experience. I started my career almost 30 years ago. First in clinical research, it was in big pharma, and then I transferred to the marketing and to the commercial functions in 4 big pharma companies like Merck, Chardon, Aventis, Novartis, Pfizer. And almost 10 years ago, I decided to change the profile of my career and join the medtech industry. And currently, I'm a general manager for ConvaTec in Russia. And I'm also responsible for the countries like Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Armenia, the CIS country. Just a second. I would like to present you some information about ConvaTec very generally, the difference between ConvaTec globally and setup of ConvaTec in Russia, give you some main features and regulatory environment for the Russian market of disposable medical devices. And thank you so much for my colleagues, the previous presenters who already facilitated this task a lot. Also, I would like to share with you how can be, in my view, the current market access options for the newcomers for this market, and some key success factors which, in view of distributors or healthcare practitioners, might be for the companies who would like to join Russian market these days. ConvaTec is a medtech global company who is presenting and having their offices in more than 100 countries. It's a public company who is listed on the London Stock Exchange, belong to the top selling companies there. And we have more than 1.9 billion sales. So this is the data of last year, 2019. And I already would like to tell you that this year we had a significant growth, and especially in countries like Russia, due to pandemic situation, because we have a product specifically needed due to pandemic time. ConvaTec consisted mostly in 4 franchises. It started as a ostomy care. We provide the devices, accessories, and services for the people with ostomy. However, in the last 10 years, it developed more in a segment of advanced wound care. It became a very renowned and high-tech producer of wound dressings with a technology like Gadrofiber for highly exudated wounds and AG Plus for infections control. They also have infusion devices. This is B2B business, almost not present in the countries outside of global scope, and the continence and critical care, which was acquired in 2008 from the Danish company Una Medical, and now it's a part of ConvaTec globally. However, in Russia, we have quite a different setup if you compare with the global. We have another factors which influence this setup. First of all, this is a price-driven factors, because the segment which is advanced wound care, this is a high-tech and very pricey segment, and unfortunately we have a very low share of sales in a local setup. And we mostly presented in fairly parts by ostomy and critical care. And we also have a part of so-called traded goods. This is a direct contract which ConvaTec Russia have rights to conclude with other producers, other manufacturers who would like to cooperate with us and who would like to bring their product to the Russian market with the help of our services. As you can see, we provide the full range of the services, starting from logistics and regulatory affairs and up to the business development and, of course, marketing and sales. In terms of sales channels, we have 2 different sales channels depending on business units. For ostomy sales, this is mostly tenders which are organized by social security funds almost in every city. And of course, for other hospital and critical care and traded goods and wound care as well, these are hospital tenders which we supply via big national distributors to the hospitals. ConvaTec do not participate to the tenders directly, but we have a very wide network of our distributors. We have more than 150 distributing companies who cooperate with us in all territories of Russia. And we sell through them all our products, including those for which we have a contract with other manufacturers. I will not put a lot of attention to the slides because Vadim already gave a very profound explanation how difficult is this market. Just some, for your understanding, I will talk about more disposable medical devices, and when you see any information regarding the medtech market in Russia, it's mostly for the equipment, high-tech machines. However, disposable devices, it's constitute about 15, maybe 20% of the whole market of medical devices. In our estimations, about 65 million in manufacturing prices, but nobody will give you any exact figures. And I would like to support Vadim's opinion. If you want to understand in your segment of interest what is really the market, you have to order a tailor-made market research. Otherwise, no way to understand what is the situation in terms of sales. My colleagues already told you about all the government initiatives for import replacing features which government started since 2008, but believe me, there are still a lot of room for sales and for tendering process for those companies who do not have any certificates of origin and production in Russia or CIS countries. And especially if you have some unique products, some high-tech products, some interesting products for the Russian markets, there is a lot of possibilities to have a nice growth still. Regarding regulatory environment, also it was already described in a very deep details by previous speakers. I would like only to add that this is a really complicated process. Our global regulatory affairs colleagues, they always tell me that Russian market is the number 2, the most expensive and the most difficult market to enter in terms of regulatory environment and registration. And if you need to enter this market before the mandatory Eurasian registration starts, you still have next year to do this, and you really need to have a very professional company who will support this activity for you. And you also need so-called authorized distributor company, because for the Russian legal laws, it's necessary to have a local presence for sales, even if you do not have a legal presence in this country. On these slides, I summarized for you what might be market access options, in my opinion, and I might have a little bit more attention here. So the first one is more evident and obvious for you. It's to organize your own business on a Russian territory. There are, of course, a lot of plus for this decision. It's a full control of everything that is going on Russian territory. You can decide to go directly to the tender sales without any distributor support to the hospitals or whatever is your channel, depending on your product. However, especially for the beginning, you will have to understand that it will be a very high cost associated with a local setup. You will have to employ your own sales force and office backup and a lot of other functions, and especially in the beginning of the business, it might be quite a good and big investments without really understanding what is your sales potential and if your return of investment will pay you off or not. However, this is recommended in my view for the companies who have a unique or high-tech products. And if you think this product will be in a demand for Russian market, and you can predict a fast and ensured growth potential, and for those who have a possibility or have a manufactured platform in Eurasian Union. Another options which some of the companies decide to prefer from the beginning. It's a direct cooperations, a direct contract with the wholesalers who have a national coverage in Russia. There are more pros for these options. You will use the sales infrastructure and all the procurement opportunities which national sales distributor have in the Russian situation. This is not required from you any big investment. You will not need to hire your own sales force or marketing. However, you will not see the full and clear and sometimes fair picture of what is going with the sales of your product. It's a kind of lack of control. And sometimes what I hear from the companies who prefer these options, they see quite a weak marketing support and not the highest possible priority for the products, because the national distributors normally have a lot of other companies, and it's kind of local internal competition for the products of different producers here. How it's a very good and maybe the best options for the product, which are standards, what we call the commodity products for this market, and on the low-cost side. In this case, you will not need everything which is might be weak points here. You do not need any strong marketing support or technical support from your side, and having the good distributor with the possibility to organize the sales to every corner of the Russia. It's what you need maybe on this side or stage of your entering the Russian market. And the third options in which ConvaTec have experience. This is a cooperation with other international medtech company who already sells their products on the Russian territory. What a positive side you will have here. The same situation like with having the infrastructure of the national wholesaler, you will have the possibility for sales infrastructure and tender opportunities of distribution network, which was developed for this international company in Russia. You do not need any investments because this company will cover all your marketing needs and will promote your products as well as its own. What is also good, normally international companies prefer. So these companies are really experts to providing you with all kinds of reports, forecasts, regular updates. So it's what is required by the international management and what is always asked to do for. There are also negative moments. It's also kind of internal competition with the other products which these companies also have on sale and in promotional portfolio. And frankly speaking, any traded goods will never be on the highest priority for these companies. It will never be in a more priority than its own product. However, it also might be recommended as a first stage of a market access for Russian market. And if you do not need any especially high technical support, and you will be satisfied with the moderate marketing support provided by this company, and both version cooperation with a distributor or with other medtech company might be an initial stage to transfer to your own legal presence in Russia. And I will show you some examples which we also have in our practice. I would like to summarize for you what might be preferences and success factors in views of distributors of medical devices, based on our experience and based of opinion of distributors which we cooperate on this market. All of them prefer to have the possible diversified portfolio and different sales channels and product mix cost to have not only high cost products and not only low cost products, but a portfolio mixed. Legal and marketing support is a very important thing. I would like to tell you that in ConvaTec we outsource 3 legal teams who work for the different tender business. One team work only for the social security funds tender support, another one for hospital business, and the third one regularly provide trainings for distributors, for customers, for hospital administrations, how to deal with changing rapidly and unpredictably the legal platform, because almost every quarter we have a new procurement law, new preferences law, and it's really difficult to understand how to navigate in this very complicated legal environment. Another factor is the availability of tender preferences. In ConvaTec, we can boast both import products and the Eurasian products as well. Because in global portfolio, we have one manufacturing platform which was organized in Belarus plant, and Belarus belongs to Eurasian Union. And we have tender preferences starting from 15% and up to the under the other laws, which we already mentioned by a previous speaker, which might postpone or even barrier the access of import product to this market. I see Vadim give me some signs. You want to add something here? No? Okay. Another things which have a lot of peculiarity with the Russian tender business, this is detailed technical specification and product descriptions. We have a so-called state catalog. This is a Russian abbreviation, which doesn't mean anything to you, but for the hospitals, it means everything. This is a catalog of goods, services, which exist for Russia. And all the products have to fit to this catalog. And this is really state-of-the-art how to fit the products here. And sometimes it's necessary to show the exceptions to be out of the scope of this catalog and to organize the tender where nobody else will have a right to enter here. And the availability of unique product features and any unique products is always in demand on Russian market, especially in some affluent hospitals, in some special niche. In view of healthcare practitioners and hospital administrations, we also have some key success factors. And in my view, one of the most important is give them engaging and free competitive analysis and promotional tools. I will show you a bit later the example. Here, this is what we call isolated patient concept. And everybody is always in demand for support, both marketing and legal. The same type of legal support what we organize for distributor, we organize also for the hospital administration to help them create the specifically tender review and how to make their reports afterwards, how to defend their tenders from the different inspections, how to defend the tenders from demands of Federal Anti-Monopoly Committee as well. This is a very complicated and very unpredictable legal environment, and believe me, those companies who provide and who are experts in legal support are always preferred by the customers, and those products are always in demand because it decreases their paperwork, decrease their problems, and it helps them to make their life easier. What also is always in need for healthcare practitioners is the clinical evaluations and education programs, and we provide them a lot. Most of them currently as a distance learning and as a webinars, educative seminars. And let me give you some other details. Here you can see what we do in the Russian market. These are mostly traditional parts of promotional tools, so where you will not find anything unique. Any other companies on this market do the same, and the deeper and high scope of digital promotion, which we started almost 2 years ago, like predicting this COVID situation. And when all the face-to-face visits became almost impossible, we became one of the biggest providers of webinar and educational activities online in our segment. Currently, we have two internet platform for education. This is a global platform and tailor-made for the Russian market in the Russian language. And we also have 3 education platforms which were created especially for us, where we have regular seminars for different kind of auditorium, starting from patients and to the distributors, to the hospital administration. As I mentioned, we have a lot of legal trainings as well. And this is one of the example how to make attractive promotional tools for the segment, for the hospital segments, where we have so-called commodity and standard products, which in view of most physicians do not differ from each other, do not have any significant advantages in terms of competitor review. 5 years ago, we created a concept which we call isolated patient. It's very simple for understanding. Patient who enter in ICU department, it's a source of infection, and it's also can be infected by the personnel, by the environment. So it's need to protect patient from a hospital environment, and it's need that hospital personnel need to be protected from the patients. And based on this very simple and straightforward concept, we created a lot of promotional materials and digital promotion, which is currently very much in demand. We organized a lot of programs for medical colleges and university, and if at the beginning we asked them to include this concept in their program, now we have a lot of requests to provide the materials and they ask us for the right to use this logotype free of charge for their promotional, and we of course give them grant for this in case they promote also the devices which ConvaTec produce and sells on the Russian territory. Another example how to be attractive in the view of the hospital administration HCP, and it's to provide different portfolio which might be fitting for different departments. This is the two examples which I have here. The kind of portfolio we provide for the pediatrics and for ICU departments, all of this is produced on a ConvaTec manufacturing places, but also some of them belong to the companies with whom we have a direct contracts. And here, this is example of those companies with which we have a ConvaTec Russia, we have a direct distribution contract. This is a British company, Swan Morton, for example. This is a very expensive blades and scalpels, which we distribute on Russian territories, and we have a growing sales and growing demand. However, the products are really expensive and a lot of many competitors on this market. We also have partners from Turkish company, and this is another example of the company Ambu. This is a Danish company who have with whom we have a contract for distributing of ECG electrodes on the Russian market. They started with us almost 10 years ago, but last year they decided to go direct and we closed our contract. However, it's not good for ConvaTec, but it's good for Ambu. So you can see that the option number 2, which I showed you on the slide, how their cooperation with the international company will help newcomers to have access on this market. Actually, I think this all of my presentation. I will be happy to answer your questions. Sorry, I didn't follow the chat. Okay.
Thank you, Olga. I think it was very interesting to hear about your experience in Russia and how you deal with distributors, how you deal with hospitals, how you deal with potential customers, how you set up a distributor network. So I think right now we are opening the floor to questions, and I think Vadim answered some of the questions already in the chat section. I think there was a few questions about CE or FDA approval. So could you please clarify whether CE mark or FDA approval is required for registration of medical devices in Russia?
For registration purposes, we don't need CE or FDA. You may start registration process in Russia without, so it's not an issue. Regarding GMP certificate, I can't remember any issues about GMP. It might be called, but it's really easy to get and really cheap, as I remember.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, GMP certificate is required like for pharmaceuticals. Could you please correct me if I'm wrong?
GMP certificate.
Yes, GMP
Maybe I'm
certificate is
pharma
for pharma products, pharmaceuticals, or not for medical devices.
There's similar certificate, not certificate number required, register, formally required by RZN, but it's really easy to get. It's not an issue to set up all these numbers. We've already discussed with Steve the system when you are product holder and you have a contract manufacturing sites. In this case, you may register the products you own and just list the manufacturing sites you will use or you are using for the production, for the physical production. So that's not an issue. You will be a holder, and the dossier will contain the information about production. If you will have for example, you will have a new production site, you have to make an amendment on your existing certificate, and it's really simple procedure, not so costly, maybe a couple pounds, and that's it. Really short. So, is there any process of administrative changes to registration?
Oh, Vadim, let me read the question for everyone.
Yeah, sure.
So here is a question from Darren. Is there any process for administrative changes to registrations that do not involve a new registration process? If so, what is the process? Is there a guidance on what is classed as administrative, timelines and costs, etc.?
Well, let me try to get into the question. Registration. Darren, do you mean this transfer from national procedure to Eurasian procedure? Or Irina, I need your help. I'm trying to get into the.
I think what Darren means is if there are any administrative changes are required to registration, what is the process? Or
No. In most cases, you just need ISO.
ISO means ISO certificate, right?
Yeah. Not only certificate. You have to have a system, not just a paper.
Yeah. You mean management system in accordance
with ISO, quality management.
Quality management system.
So you don't need to change your administrative part. You need a basic set of documents for the product. You normally have it, and there is a guidance at the Federal Roszdravnadzor website. But it's better to hire or find a resource expert who will help you to walk through the process.
Well, yeah, what he means, if, for example, there is a change in the address, does it mean you need to issue a new registration, or you are just need to make an amendment to it?
Just amendment. My recommendation, please don't change brand name, address, production location within the registration procedure.
But what if the address changes?
I faced several times when the customer for the registration change brand name, location, company name. That might be an issue for you. It will extend lead time to market. It will increase costs of registration totally. For existing certificates, if you move your production, change legal address or whatever marked in the certificate, it must go through the amendment procedure. That's a separate, simpler procedure than the new registration.
Yeah, and how long does it take? And
the longest and most complicated one I faced, it was about 6 months. Normally it takes about 2-3 months. to make an amendment.
So it's just a paperwork. You don't need to undergo
cases,
all the procedures, right?
Yes.
And what is like an average cost of making an amendment to an existing certificate?
Depends on the volume. Depends on what you will change. Simply address may cost you about £1,000. For more, the agency may call you for heavy more money for this. But if you extend your product line, for example, you will add more products. You will go through the, how to say, nearly the new registration. It will looks like a new registration procedure, because you have to update your technical file, application instruction. You have to make a technical and toxicological test for new products, just for you, not for whole product line, but for new products you will add to the existing certificate, and also clinical evaluation for the new products you are adding to the certificate. It may take you about a year, maybe a year and a half, because it looks like not completely new registration, but really close to new.
Okay, and here is another question from Mark. When registering radiotherapy equipment, I think that's equipment which is used for cancer, certain types of cancer. So it requires, I think, radio frequency or something. So is this a total responsibility from Roszdravnadzor, or any other approvals are required from atomic agency, because it's
exactly. Mark, you should go. You should go to the atomic agency. That's one more paper you have to get. Also for matters, any matters. If you measure something, not just evaluating or measure, you have to go through the registration, additional registration procedure for any matters you will sell here. That will add about 600-800 rubles. Let me check in pound. Where's my calculator? On average, it's about 6,300 pounds.
And by atomic agency, do you mean like what agency? Rosatom, no?
There is a piece of Rosatom, as I remember, because it's really, Mark, it's really complicated product from the registration perspective. Be ready for a couple years to go through the procedures, through the paperwork. That's really heavy product from this procedure.
I have a question to Olga. You mentioned you are a distributor of UK company Swan Morton. Did you do the registration yourself, or was it loan? Was it complicated?
Yes, we also provide the registration services and all the regulatory services to maintain the registration certificate, to make the amendments to the certificate, but only for those products which are complemented to our portfolio, which we select ourselves and which we are going to distribute ourselves.
But was it difficult, and how long did it take you from like a registration point of view?
That all depends. What Vadim say, we have to understand the scope of the products, what kind of the products, the class risk, everything. That's too general question to answer.
Okay, any more questions? Well, I don't think any more questions. So if you have any questions, we will be more than happy to answer them all. Please email myself, and I will forward your messages, your questions to our experts. And yes, that was a message from Andrew. Yes, I will send all the presentations today by the end of the day. There is also be a video available, and yes, we hope we answered the majority of the questions. So thank you again for participating. Stay healthy, stay safe, and see you soon, and see all your products on the Russian market. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.